So thank you again, ladies, for being here. I want to extend my heartfelt thank you to you all. Thank you for being a part of the Suffering in Silence team. You all have given so much already, and I just appreciate the foundation that has been laid and that we're growing on. So I'm thankful to you all for your help and your input. Before we get into our topic, we want to start with some resources. The first resource I want to share is really an encouragement, an advertisement. Last week I got a Christmas gift, and it was just absolutely beautiful. I was given a Christmas bag by one of my dear friends, and in this bag she included so many different things. But I just want to point out she gave me some candles, and these candles are beautiful. I want to say that the glass is ceramic. It's ceramic. It's black, 8 ounces. And the entrepreneur, her name is India Singleton. Her company is called Soothe Me Candle Company. You can reach her on Facebook. And I am telling you, these candles are beautiful. The ingredients are soy wax and fragrance. She creates her own fragrances. One fragrance that I have is strudel and spice, and I love it. To me, it smells like mint and cinnamon. And then another one that I have is black coral and moss, and that just has it's like a really clean, fresh scent. But these are beautiful, and I just want to encourage a female entrepreneur. So if you need some, well, Christmas is tomorrow, so you you probably missed that boat, but if you need some gifts, or you just want to get something for yourself, I encourage everyone to go to India Singleton. Again, her company is called Soothe Me Candle Company. These candles are absolutely beautiful. They smell wonderful, and you can reach her on Facebook. And now for some resources, just to share. These are in Canada. The first one is in Ontario, Assaulted Women's Helpline. The number is 1-866-863-0511. In Quebec, the number for SOS Violence Conjugal is 1-800-363-9010. And then for New Brunswick, we have the CHIMO helpline, CHIMO. The phone number is 1-800-667-5005. And so now as we move into our topic on this evening, which is myths that perpetuate domestic violence. And as we were preparing for this, the first myth that came to my mind was, if he loves you, he hits you. I had the opportunity to be a guest on the Blue Sky show with Jan2 and Fadwa. The Blue Sky show airs on Luv Bay Saturday at 7 p.m. Eastern. Fadwa is the host of the Gems of Life program, which airs on Monday, 7 p.m. Eastern. But I had the opportunity to be a guest with Jan2. And as we were discussing my book in a flow of conversation, this is one of the things that came up. And Jan2 actually mentioned that she heard this saying as a child growing up: if he loves you, he hits you. Well, I heard the same thing. And I was intrigued by that because it resonated with me. We're two different women. We're from two different areas, literally two different parts of the globe, two different cultures. And yet we both heard this same thing, which is something destructive as children growing up. And so I've spoken to other women about this, and too, there have been other women, different races, different cultures, different ages, who all have heard this same thing. If he loves you, he hits you. And me personally, I think that this particular myth comes from that need to be loved. You know, a topic we had a couple weeks ago was, what is love? And I just believe that this comes out of that need. And so, unfortunately, some people believe that abusive behavior is love. It's kind of like any attention is good attention. So it's filling that need. So this was the first myth that came to my mind. So ladies, I want to ask you, one, have you heard this? Is this a familiar saying to you? And then your thoughts on it.
Well, I've never heard that particular saying that if he loves you, he'll hit you. But I kind of think of it in terms, and we had talked about that with The Color Purple. When Mr. hit her, and her and Oprah's character talked about. I think they were in the field, and he was trying to get her to act right or something like that. And I think the character said, if she's not acting right. No, I think it was the character that Whoopi played was talking to the young man, and he was trying to get the Oprah character to act right. And he says to her, I don't know how to get her to act right. He tells her, hit her. And he said, hit her? He said, yeah, hit her. If she don't act right, hit her. She'll act right. And foolish enough, he wouldn't hit her. And he got more than he expected. She whooped the fool out of him. But that particular saying, I have not heard for people to think that that's an expression of love to hit somebody. And for someone to actually believe that and expect love to hurt. It's a travesty, because love is not supposed to hurt. It's not supposed to be painful. So no, I haven't. That one I haven't heard. That particular. I may have heard some others, but that one I haven't heard. But it does put me in the mind of The Color Purple. All the bruises that women will take. Because they are in need of home, in need of finances, and they rather take a whipping than to leave and be independent on their own or try to find it. But there are a lot of circumstances, which I know we'll probably get into, which lead them not to leave. Yeah. Or they can't leave.
Jen, what about you?
Yeah, I've never heard that before either, but it's funny because it makes me think of, when you said it tonight, what it made me think of was how when you're a kid and it's like if a boy is teasing you or if he's mean to you, it means he likes you. Yeah. And so, I think that's very anecdotal. I'm not saying that it's anything specific there, but I think it's interesting and very indicative of the way that we treat relationships starting from a very young age, is how we set people up to view themselves in a relationship, and particularly women, as, these very aggressive and terrible behaviors should be seen as affection, because that's just how men express affection. And I want to call that out as a big, big lie. That's not true at all. But yeah, I think it's interesting that, though I've never heard it before, that's what it made me think of.
That is just, when you said that, when we were talking about the little boys, instantly I was back in the 4th grade. I can see the little boys chasing me around in the schoolyard. And I remember hearing, he likes you because he's hitting you. He likes you because he's chasing you. He likes you because he's pulling your hair and he's pushing you. Clear as a bell. As soon as you said that, I went back to the schoolyard. And adults said that. Not just us kids messing around, but adults said that. He's picking on you because he likes you. And it was like, it was cute. It was like, it was cute. It was acceptable. Like that was what was supposed to happen. Like things were on track. That's the way things were supposed to go.
Right. Yeah, even the teachers would tell you that.
Yeah.
And say, he likes you, and would say, Mark, stop hitting her. We know you like her, Yep. The teacher would put him on blast, but he said, I don't like her, but, the actions spoke that same scenario, that he really liked you or liked the little girl. And it's interesting, again, as Jennifer said, that hitting, even back then, relating to forging relationships very early.
Yep.
How we accept smacks and hits and stuff like that at a very early age to put us in a mindset that that's acceptable as an adult when you find yourself in an abusive relationship. That's very interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I remember little girls crying. And I remember us being told, sit down, be quiet, he likes you, and, you know, like, y'all just stop playing. Just like, I'm not playing, he just hit me.
Well, you know, I had a little young man when I was in elementary school. I had to go to the bathroom, and they released me to go to the bathroom. And he, too, all of a sudden decided he was going to the bathroom. But in the schools, girls' bathroom on one side, he's on the other side. And he actually came into the girls' room and grabbed me and held on to me, you know. As, again, said he likes you. I reported it. You know, he got in trouble for it. But the same thing is that putting your hands on someone to express your affection, and then we fall into that very early, you know, and even as we became teenagers, you know, the same way we fell into that trap a little bit.
Yeah. Tell me to go in the house because it's raining and you go do what you want to do. Carrie, what do you think? What are your thoughts? Have you ever heard this particular this particular myth, or what are your thoughts?
Yes, I have. First of all, I just want to say, before even going into this, women reserve all rights to their body.
Yes.
All rights. In the presence of a man, she does not forfeit any of them.
Yes.
So, if you think of it, if you're on a date with a man and he reaches over to try and touch your purse, or maybe seems like he's taking his wallet out of your purse, you say, hey, what are you doing? But if he puts his arm around you and you're maybe not comfortable with that, you feel like you shouldn't tell him to stop, right? You feel like you shouldn't tell him to move his arm. Why is the purse more valuable? Like, why does the purse have more rights to its physical space?
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, I feel Carrie, I'm just like standing up now. I'm just like
you know, listen,
Carrie just empowered me.
You know, I have so many stories of stuff that I have allowed myself to get into sometimes and had no business in it. And I remember when my husband and I were separated, and I decided I was going to take a girls' trip. And, you know, not knowing how relationships are there when you come into the islands, the men know what plane you're on, what hotel you're going to, how long you're going to stay there. How they get the information, I don't know. But I went on a double date, and he put his hands, I had on this beautiful canary yellow strapless dress. And I had gotten a suntan, and so I was burning. And he had the nerve to put, I don't know, you from a can of paint, you know. And he put his arms around my shoulder, and he brushed up against, you know, my back. He began to rub my back. I was like, your hands feel like Brillo, you know. I don't know, you know, he had working hands, whatever, but it felt like Brillo. But you're right to assume that you are able to put your arms around a female without permission or asking, is it okay? And just assume that that's all right. I felt very icky, you know, that he did that and did not ask me, was it okay? You know, yeah, I have some stories. Y'all bringing stuff back. You know, I got some of that stuff.
But in regards to whether or not I've heard this, growing up, I heard it. But I guess as far as what my mother taught me, it wasn't so much as to that means he loves you. It was more like, oh, what are you doing? Whatever you're doing, you need to stop.
Yeah.
So it was a lot of responsibility is on the woman for if the man has an episode or he has a tantrum, it's attributed to whatever the woman's doing or not doing, and she needs to correct that behavior. And I remember I'm very outspoken, and my mother used to call me overbearing, and she used to always tell me, you're going to have a man that knows how to snatch you up.
Oh my goodness.
That's not very, great for like a middle schooler or a teenage girl to hear. So I'm thinking,
mixed signals.
Yes, I'm thinking, so I'm getting programmed in my head, okay, so I need this alpha male, I need this guy who snaps at me or does these things. And I just remember, oh my gosh, I am so outspoken. I guess I have a stronger personality. It used to make me feel like such a man for that. And I was like, and so I think, I guess I did hear it from my main female figure, but it wasn't specifically verbatim. If he hits you, he loves you. Mm-hmm. It's more like it's the husband's responsibility to discipline his wife. Mm-hmm. And that kind of goes back to what Pastor May was saying about the novel The Color Purple. Kind of this idea of women almost being children-like.
Yeah. And
that is a man's responsibility to essentially train her and take care of her and everything like that. Because girlhood, you like spend your entire, well, at least I did, you like spend your entire girlhood getting ready for your husband's house. Like, it's like you have to be ready for your husband's house. My mother used to say, because my sister, she had some issues with like cleaning up after herself. And my mother used to always say, ain't no man gonna want no nasty woman. So,
heard that.
So it's very much like you have to be in line. Like, he may hit you as a necessary, or he may do something abusive as a necessary means to make sure his position and power position is not threatened as a man of the house.
Yeah. Wow. Well, Carrie, so many things like came out of what you just said. Like, I don't know what I don't know which one to pick first. But just at least one thing out of what you were saying, how it's perceived that the man has to be aggressive, like he has to have that macho behavior. That made me think of another myth, that nice guys are weak. That, if he's sensitive, something's wrong with him. If he's wearing a suit and tie, if he's treating you well, if he's asking you, how are you, really wants to know what you're thinking, what you're feeling, he's too sensitive and he's a punk, he isn't a man. Like, he has to be exerting that alpha male syndrome. That's another myth that is, I believe, instilled. I heard that growing up. I didn't just hear it. I saw it demonstrated in front of me. Like, you don't want the nice guy. He's too nice. He's actually talking to you, having a conversation. No, he's supposed to be telling you what you want to do. He's not supposed to be asking you questions. He's supposed to take charge, take control, because that's what men do. I saw that. And with devastating effects, I saw that. So, Pastor May, is that, something else that you've seen, that myth in particular, what Carrie was saying, that alpha male?
It was funny that when I began to date my husband, he was the first really nice guy that I had dated. I hadn't done a lot of dating, but he was the first really nice guy. Very considerate and very mannerable and respectful and everything. And my mom didn't like him. She didn't like him. I was talking to another young man before I had begun to talk with my husband, and he was the bad boy type guy, cool and everything. He had been in the Navy, and he had come home. He was real cool, and and my mother liked him better. And then it took her years to really, embrace my husband as her son-in-law. And I took that because her and my dad fought like cats and dogs all the time. So, to me, seemed like she was the one that was attracted to the bad boy thing. You know, I'm not trying to have no bad boy relationship, okay? And so it was interesting that she said that, and I think that's really true. Even as I was growing up with some of the other young women that high school friends that I grew up with, they liked the bad boy. You know, they wanted someone to take charge and tell them what to do and when to do it. You know, and they felt that it was so that was a masculine man.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, I had a problem being told what to do. That's why I stayed in trouble all the time. You know, so if I'm gonna get a man that's gonna tell me what to do, it was gonna be on. You know, so I thank the Lord that he was not that type of person. He was. He asked me, you know, did I want to do this or did I want to do such a, you know, different things. So for my era, from what I came from, and even as I looked at my own children as they grew up, and some of my nieces, and even some of, you know, my sister-in-laws, and looking at some of the men that they dated, they liked the bad boys, and they were church girls. Yeah, come on,
Right.
Church girls. You ain't supposed to be liking the bad boy, Dad. You're supposed to be looking for somebody that's, you know, got the knot and tie up, you know, somebody that's real nice and everything, wearing glasses and everything, you know. That's who the church girl is supposed to go after, not the bad boy, you know.
Well, I'm a '90s. I'm a '90s kid. So for us, it was you had to have the guy. He had to have Tim's. He had to have on the jeans, you know, and you know they couldn't be pulled up. You know, he had to have the sweatshirt, and you know the boots couldn't be laced all the way up. Nothing proper. He had to wear these clothes the right way. So it was the Timbs, it was the jeans, it was the swagger, it was the, you know, the walk that he had to have, you know, and the way that he talked, the lingo. It was like that was portrayed to us as attractive. It was, he was telling you what to do, telling you where to go. You know, I even seen women who, you know, they had their own houses, they had their own cars, they had their own money, but they had this guy telling them what to do with it. And they thought that was attractive. Even though he has nothing and he's telling you what to do with what you have, for some reason that was attractive. So Jen, have you seen or experienced that alpha male?
Yes. Yes. So I have a couple thoughts about this. And I want to make it really clear that obviously abusive behavior is the responsibility of the abuser, period, end. There is no exception to that. But I think it's worth noting that, you know, this is, not to bring it back to childhood once again, apparently that's my thing tonight, but this is how we're teaching men to grow up as well, right? Like, this is what's being taught to them. This is what's attractive to them. This is how you get a girl. This is how you become successful. This is how you become a man, whatever that actually means in that context. So again, abusive behavior is abusive behavior. There is no excuse for it, and it is solely that person's responsibility. But I think it's, you know, as much as we're taught to like accept that behavior and to want that behavior is like pushed on them in a way as well. Yeah. And so like very much culturally, we need to be okay with having the nice guy or the guy that actually is genuine and sensitive and is emotionally intelligent and wants to have a conversation and wants to view you as an equal and a partner. Yes. So, and then the other thing I want to say is I think I really actually hate the term nice guy. I hate that term because there are a lot of guys out there that that's just the another side of the same coin in terms of abuse. Come on, I'm the nice guy. Like, I do everything for you, and that entitles me to your person, your attention, your, you know, anything. And so I think that just kind of is sort of an aside, but it also needs to be said. There is a difference between a man who seeks to know you as a person and seeks to know you as a partner and wants to actually have an emotionally invested relationship with you versus the guy that's just telling you he's the nice guy.
Yes.
And is very superficial in that way.
Yes. So I just to piggyback on what you were saying about childhood, I think it's a point that is worth bringing up because a lot of this that I can remember, I remember it from my childhood. And it did shape the way that I think. This stuff was demonstrated in front of me. This stuff was told to me, what it's supposed to be. And, home, the neighborhood, in school. It came from childhood. I remember in elementary school some of this stuff. So I think it is worth mentioning that we really have to think about what we're putting in front of our children. I'm 45 years old. I remember clear as a bell what happened when I was in the 3rd grade. I remember going to teachers and saying he's bothering me and them just brushing me off like, he likes you or whatever. Or like Carrie said, what did you do to make him hit you? I remember that from the 3rd grade. So I think it is worth pointing out that, some of this stuff, some of it does come from childhood. And also, Jen, as you were saying, sometimes nice guy is the other side of the coin. Abuse can and does look like anything. So abuse can be in a suit and tie. So we're not saying, just throw all out the window and just go for the guy that looks nice, sounds nice, and he's, just quiet and sweet. That's not what we're saying. We're talking about just particular, myths. We're talking about that. But yes, abuse looks like anything. So you do have to pay attention and you do have to be careful. And instead of, literally looking for a nice guy, you want the guy who is mature, who actually does care about you, who will ask you, what are you thinking and feeling, instead of telling you what you think and what you feel.
Yeah. I mean, after being in a situation where, the guy that I was with, everybody thought he was the nice guy and very just, upstanding guy, very, upstanding in his community. If you actually are the nice guy, the real nice guy, prove it. Not by buying me flowers, not by, showing up and surprising me all the time. No, get to know me as a person, value me as a person, treat me as your equal, treat me as if we're doing life together in a partnership.
Right.
That's how you be a nice guy, the real nice guy.
Exactly.
Yeah. And as Jen was saying, niceness or someone or a guy being your friend, that doesn't give him liberty to touch you or anything like that.
Yes.
For example, and just trigger warning, it's unconsensual touch. So I had a really, really good friend. We were best friends. And we were sitting in the car one time and he reached over and he decided to grab my chest. And, it was like, whoa. And he just kind of looks at me and I look at him and I asked him, don't do that. Please don't do that. And he just kind of looks at me and frowns and then his face turns angry. And then he's like, I can't believe you. And he was so mad that I rejected him. We're best friends and we're so close and you just rejected me. I can't believe you. You can't believe me. He said, I can't believe you.
Wow.
Well, did he think he was a friend that was going to get benefit?
We were friends. We were best friends for a long time. And as far, I don't know. But
he was just wrong. There's no way. There's no explanation. Nothing to put on top of it. He was just wrong.
And I just want to say, ladies, if you have a friend that's a guy, don't think, because women it's always left up to women to be the nice one.
Yeah.
We're not supposed to reject, or we're not supposed to be confrontational towards men. That's my best friend, and I'm sure he didn't, it was just a weird thing. Oh, it was just a weird thing. We're really quick to dissociate from what just happened, especially when you trusted this person.
Yeah.
Don't. You have to be in reality about those things because it'll just lead you to worse situations.
Right. Well, you know
and
what?
also too.
Oh, go ahead,
I'm
Pastor
sorry.
Ray.
Yeah. Also too, there needs to be clarification when you say friend. Sometimes they don't understand what that word friend means.
Yep.
That's why I said friends with benefits. To give, even though you may give clear distinction of what type of friends we are, sometimes they'll still take advantage of it.
Yeah.
But there has to be some strict guidelines. I mean, I've had some male friends that we're like sisters and brothers, but he's still my friend. But that would have never happened because he would have drew back a nub anyway. But anyway, the point of it is that he clearly should have understood, what type of relationship the two of you had without taking advantage of that. And it was taking advantage of your relationship to assume that was going to be okay with you.
It's like some men automatically assume if I have any type of intimacy or closeness with this female person, I will automatically be entitled to relations.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No.
Some men.
I don't mean to seem violent that I said he would have drew back a nub, y'all.
Disclaimer, just throw that out there.
I am not a violent person. I just want to put this disclaimer out there. I'm going to tell them, Pastor, they going to cut their man's arm off. I'm just saying.
No, we got you. We understand. But you know what? Some men just don't know how to be friends. And I mean, I'm still feeling empowered from when Carrie first started talking. Like, what I say is what I say. Don't touch me. If I don't want you touching me, don't touch me. You do not have an open invitation to put your hands on me, whether you feel like we're friends or not, no matter how close you think we are or not. I have had men tell me that we couldn't be friends anymore because I didn't want a relationship, because I didn't want anything more than a friendship. They told me, well, we can't be friends. Bye. Like, you're not changing my life one way or another. And that says to me that you were never a real friend in the first place. Every relationship is not meant for you to date. Every relationship is not going to grow into that, all right, well, you're the one that I can marry and spend the rest of my life with. Not nobody, but a lot of people just don't understand what it is to be friends. And as Carrie was saying, it's like it is a lot of responsibility on the woman. Why do I have to tell you not to put your hands where they don't belong? Why do I have to tell you and correct you about, the way that you're speaking to me? Your responsibility should not be put on my shoulders. And again, I think it goes back to, at least I can say for me, childhood, because I remember seeing all of these things. I remember it being on my shoulders. I had to speak up if the little boy was saying or doing something. Even if teachers or adults in the schoolyard or wherever or in the neighborhood, they saw him running around hitting the girls or doing whatever, it was left on us to speak up and say, we don't want him, doing this, or he just did that, to me. So, I mean, it does go back to childhood, and it is unfair, and then as Jen was saying, our boys are being raised in this way too. So in that sense, I would say it's unfair to the boys too, because they're being raised in a way that is contrary to what a real man should display once he, gets older. You can't just put your hand on a woman and just do and say whatever you want to do. And then he'll suffer the consequences, from that. So our children are suffering, and we need to be able to correct that and modify it now. That's what we need to do as adults, going back. Luv Bay, we want to welcome you again to Suffering in Silence with Tia May on Luv Bay Afrobeat Music Talk Radio. We're here every Friday evening at 7 p.m. Eastern, and we are rising out of the ashes together. Before we continue in our topic, I want to share just a few more resources. We have for you Caring Unlimited, York County's domestic violence program. This is in Maine in the United States. The website is www.caring-unlimited, UTED.org. The phone number is 1-800-239-7298. We also have the Maine Coalition to End Domestic Violence. The website is www.mcedv.org. The phone number is 1-866-834-4357. The phone number for deaf or hard of hearing is 1-800-437-1220. We also have Through These Doors, working to end domestic violence in Cumberland County, Maine. The website is www.throughthesedoors.org. The phone number is 1-800-537-6066. And then we have for you New Hampshire Coalition Against Domestic and Sexual Violence. The website is www.nhcadsv.org. And the New Hampshire's statewide helpline is 1-866-644-3574. And as we return to our topic on tonight, myths that perpetuate domestic violence, ladies, the next one that I thought of is that men can't be abused. That is something that I hear on a regular basis. So we do want to clarify: men can be abused. Men can be abused by women, and men can be abused by other men. So Jen, you want to speak on that one?
Sure. Yeah, I think it's really important that we continue to acknowledge that men are affected by this, because it's getting worse. More and more men are being affected by domestic violence. And I guess the biggest thing that we have to tackle in acknowledging this is acknowledging what constitutes domestic violence. Mm-hmm. Because I think a lot of people's first misconception is that, well, men are physically more powerful than women, generally speaking.
Yeah.
And so another myth would be that all domestic violence is physical in nature. You can have emotional, psychological, spiritual, economic, sexual abuse in a relationship. So I think that it's very important that we acknowledge that men are growing in numbers being affected by this as well. And unfortunately, because of the toxicity that surrounds so much of the male culture in our society, men don't feel comfortable coming forward and acknowledging that they are experiencing this abuse.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Pastor May, you want to add to that?
Yeah, even from family members, men can be abused. I've had an opportunity to deal with someone in that level. Sisters are being abusive to their verbally abusive to the brother, and the brother doesn't know how to come back in order to strengthen the point and idea of what he wants to stand on. So men can get, by their families, by their siblings. If they're men who are passive, they will tend to shrug back because they have been rejected. Again, childhood stuff, that people grow up in and never corrected. Now they're 30 and 40 years old. And you have some men that they don't want to get married because they're afraid of maybe their mother was very aggressive to them, not necessarily physical, but verbally, mm-hmm. Abusive to them. And now they're in a place of adulthood and don't know how to handle relationships, and they shrug back, and they could be even labeled, they're punk. They don't know how to, talk up for themselves, mm-hmm. They could be labeled that way. But again, how were they raised? What was the environment that they were in that was never corrected, that was never changed? No one, helped them. They're not abusing now because they were abused, but they're now in a place of low self-esteem. Men have low self-esteem too. We always relate it to women have low self-esteem, but you got a lot of men who have low self-esteem because of verbal abuse, and they don't know how to protect themselves. They are very easily preyed upon for different things. So that could fall on men as well.
And so I I want to add to that, and then Carrie will get your thoughts or your comment on it. I just want to say specifically to men, you do not have to stay in an abusive relationship to try to prove your masculinity. You don't stay there to try to prove, I'm a man, I can take it. No, leave. If you can go. Do what you need to do. Create your safety plan so you can go out of the door. Be it if you're dealing with a woman or with a man. Your masculinity does not depend on you being able to take the insults and the degrading behavior and the physical abuse. And we know that women mess with men psychologically. That's a lot of the abuse that comes from women towards men. You don't have to stay there and take it. You don't have to try to prove a point. And so I say to men, if you are in that situation, then you stand up for yourself. Just like I'm telling you, I'm still feeling that S on my chest from the beginning when Carrie started. You stand up for yourself. You do what you need to do for yourself, and you make your plan. I am sorry that she has done whatever she's done to you, that he has done whatever he's done to you, that they don't hear you, that they are degrading to you. I am sorry for that. You are worth more than that. You deserve more than that. And you staying doesn't prove that you're a man. You being a man is you loving yourself and you taking care of yourself and you doing what you need to do for yourself. So whomever has taken that away from you, I feel that pain and I am sorry for that. And I am encouraging you to go forth in your life because you deserve better and you can have better. And if you hear me, then you are on your way to better. So I just want to encourage men in that area. Carrie, did you want to add anything, or you want to go to, is there another myth that you thought of?
Sure, I can add on that. I remember in the church that I grew up, the pastor, he did part of a sermon specifically on female verbal assault on men. And especially because it's a predominantly Black church, and a stereotype of women is like, we have a mouth. I want to say that, I don't think that you should call your husband or your partner out of his name, and shouldn't try to emasculate him, and you shouldn't do those things. Also, I want to say that just because women are known for verbally assault, not just Black women, women in general known for verbal assaults or whatever, that doesn't always mean that the woman wasn't justified in saying it. Maybe she shouldn't have, but it doesn't mean that she wasn't justified in saying it. I remember the pastor was a woman saying, I wish I never gave my virginity to you, or I wish, that's really mean, but maybe something happened where she really wishes that maybe he actually did something that was not good, where she was valid in saying that, but maybe she shouldn't have said it. I just think that the societal perspective on women and our mouths, and just how the Me Too movement is going on, women use their, they talk and they make stories and everything like that to try and turn the power. That does happen, but I think sometimes women are really valid in some of the things that sometimes we may say to men, but it may not be good. And then, yes, specifically with men being abused in relationships, I think from my own subjective experience, I can only speak to a man having a mental illness in the relationship and the woman being like really abusive about it. Like, for example, I had my biological aunt, she had a husband, and he like was Ethiopian, and he was in Ethiopia in the 70s, and that was a civil war. It was craziness, like all the way to the 90s. And he saw a lot of violence. Like, that's a civil war in Africa. And not saying like Africa's this, it's not that, it's just that a lot of the governmental structures in African countries don't have the necessary resources because of history and colonization to quell civil wars and things like that. But it's not because they're like not as good, or I'm not saying that at all. I love Africa. But yeah, he saw all of those things. And then he started kind of seeing schizophrenia or paranoia. And he was apprehending the neighbors about something, and she got really embarrassed. And she actually left him, and she was not accepting to his PTSD because she was really focused on image. And she was very disparaging towards him and did emasculate him for his illness. He went through things. And I'm not saying that a mental disability on its own, like, even if you haven't been through trauma, like, that's also valid. But I'm just like, if someone is going through like marriage, like sickness and health, if someone is going through a mental illness, if your partner is going through mental illness and they're not abusing you or hitting you or making you or trying to make you feel bad, but they're just going through it and they're sick, you're supposed to take care of your sick spouse.
Right.
If your husband is going through a mental illness and he's not doing anything to detriment you, like your mental or physical integrity, I think that you should support him and you shouldn't abuse him for that.
I agree. So yes, that is what a marriage is supposed to be. You are supposed to be there, you know, in sickness and in health, for richer or for poor. I mean, you're supposed to be there when things are going right and when they're going wrong. You don't tear a person down because they're suffering mentally. And to your first point, you know, I want to say that just goes back to just understanding and knowing that there is a difference between abuse and expressing anger. So there may be some things that women are, you are very valid in saying what you said. And there are some men, you are valid in saying what you said. But we just have to know where that line is when we're dealing with abuse and expressing anger. And when you express anger, you need to be an adult and you need to express that anger in a healthy and respectful way. So sometimes what I said is absolutely true. What I said is absolutely right. But the way that it came out, I should have delivered or communicated my message, you know, in a different way. And if we're talking about anger, then we can sit down and have a conversation. I should be adult enough to see, you know, I said this the wrong way. I hurt you. I'm sorry. You know, I apologize. Let's go forward. You know, this is how, you know, I could have said it differently. We have a communication and we talk about it. Abuse, there is no conversation. Abuse, you draw the line and you do what you need to do to get yourself out of that. So I just wanted to add that to your first point. And again, ladies, I'm looking at the time. So I think now I just want to give everybody space to give a final comment on what we're talking about. Luv Bay, there are just so many more myths that we have in front of us. We are just not able to get through them all. So I'm sure, ladies, you know, we'll come back to the table with this. But as we are coming up on an hour, I just want to give everyone time for a final thought. And Pastor May, we can start with you on, you know, closing out this topic, myths that perpetuate domestic violence.
Yeah. It's such a travesty that, you know, men and women have to experience this. I was going to throw in another curve to the, well, I don't say curve, another opening to some of the myths as it relates to women having to have physical sexual relationships just because you're married. Mm-hmm. You know, you have to, if he's abusing you, he can come in drunk and have sex with you, and you don't have to say no. So we
need more than an hour for that. When we, I'm gonna have to talk to some people.
I'm just throwing that out, you know, because I was like, okay, I don't know if I'm gonna get a chance to throw that out there tonight, but I threw it out there, you know. But yes, you know, for those of you that are listening, there are many more myths. This one, I think, was really a strong one to remind people that you don't have to allow that type of myths coming back from, your childhood, your grandmother, your great grandmother, because they did it. You have to fall into the same pattern of what your four grandmothers did prior to you. And we can expel the myth. We could change it and put it in a perspective to say, no, this is not right. We need to teach our children, no, this is not right, because they fall victims into generational, and I hate to say generational curses, but generational actions and things that, were done by our forefathers, foremothers, so.
Yeah. Thank you. Jen, you have some final comments?
Yeah, I mean, I really just could talk about this topic all night. There are so many myths perpetuated about domestic violence, and I kind of want to nod back to something that Carrie was talking about with, the women trope and women getting called out in this domestic violence, and it may not actually be domestic violence. I think it is important to acknowledge power structures and power dynamics, and how women for all of time, we are stuck in this power hierarchy and power struggle. And so it is a lot harder to abuse someone when you are not in power, when you don't have that power,
right,
societally. And so that's why we see most of this focus being on women. That's why this topic mostly is about women. I don't want to say it concerns women, because it concerns everybody. This is a topic for everybody. But I think that is an important thing to acknowledge as we talk about domestic violence. And there's so much to talk about. There's so much that we have gotten wrong. And what makes me, I think, really sad is because we've gotten so much wrong, we have taught our children really terrible things, and we've given our friends really bad advice, and we've told our family members things that have probably kept them in a place of hurt and despair. And so I really love that this program is being a part of changing that conversation. And I just absolutely love anybody who tunes in to listen to this to just try to understand this issue and try to be a part of making things better. So thank you for listening.
Thank you. Carrie, you have some final words?
My final thoughts are just like you said, domestic violence, it is a topic for everyone, no matter what's your sexuality, your beliefs, anything like that. If you're in a situation where you're being abused, you should go. And specifically, I acknowledge what, the Bible and the Quran says and everything like that. But if you are if it's two men and they're in a relationship, if there's a guy who's more feminine on the gender spectrum and he's being abused by the guy that's more masculine, you also need to leave that, because that happens. I've seen that happen a lot.
Yes.
And it's almost like they're catching a stray bullet from sexism. They feel like they're not, there's this feeling that they're not as important because they're gay, or when we talk about domestic violence, it doesn't relate to them because they're on the outskirts. They're a deviant. They don't matter. But no, you do matter, and you need to leave that situation. And just because you're more of a feminine man doesn't mean that a more masculine man has the right to put his hands on you.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. Luv Bay, I want to please remind you to visit Facebook for India Singleton Soothe Me Candle Company. These candles are absolutely beautiful. Ladies, I want to thank you again for being here with me on this evening. Pastor May Davis of Greater Works Christian Ministries, Jennifer Peterkin, and Carrie Hardy, the co-host of Suffering in Silence. Thank you for joining us on this evening. We are here on Luv Bay Afrobeat Music Talk Radio every Friday evening, 7 p.m. Eastern. Luv Bay, we're rising out of the ashes together. Have a good evening.